let me give you some insight on intergender wrestling. I think people are losing sight of what it really is and what it should be. Listen, don't get brainwashed by indie wrestling. Don't get brainwashed by Impact Wrestling. That's what this boils down to. When people think about intergender wrestling, they think about Impact. They think about indie wrestling. They think about Wrestle Circus. They think about those trash companies. That's what they think about. But they never consider the fucking WWF. They were the ones who started the whole intergender stuff. But they did it right. It's like, I don't get you fucking people. It's like, yes, Impact and Wrestle Circus, yeah, they fucking fucked it up. Indie wrestling fucked it up. But don't bash it in hindsight. Don't bash it in general just because Tessa Blanchard fucked it up. Just because Brian Cage fucked it up. Vince McMahon never fucked it up. He always knew what the fuck he was doing. When it came to Vince McMahon, he was the king of booking intergender matches. But people, for some reason, you guys forgot about it. You guys never had a beef with intergender shit until Impact Wrestling. Let's just be all the way real with it. Chyna got over wrestling men. Beth Phoenix got over by wrestling men. Until Impact, you guys are all cap. You never had a problem with intergender wrestling. So, what do I mean by when it came to Vince McMahon? He always did it the right way. Because every time he did it, it was a part of a fucking storyline. Right? When it came to Stone Cold giving Stephanie a fucking stunner, or Randy giving out RKOs to tons of hot bitches, he always did it via a fucking storyline. When it came to Chyna, he always made intergender wrestling not look fake. Meaning, he wasn't booking, I don't know, let me use an example. He wasn't booking Ivory versus The Rock. No, he was booking Chyna versus The Rock. Chyna is a buff ass chick who can possibly whoop your ass. See, the only people who got a problem with intergender wrestling are the people who don't lift, are the people who are out of shape, who don't fucking work out, who don't look like me. You guys don't like it. Why? Because these girls can possibly whoop your ass. That's what I mean. Like, it's always the people who don't lift, who don't work out, who are kind of somewhat afraid of seeing a dominant woman beating a man's ass, even though it can happen. Right? See, I actually work out. So I give love to girls who are big, strong, who can work out. Some of these women who are fucking power lifters, they can whoop your ass. I hope you know that, right? That's why I have no problem with intergender wrestling, because it can work in small doses. Chyna, Vince McMahon was never booking divas against real men wrestlers. He wasn't booking the Cat versus Chris fucking Jericho, right? He wasn't booking Ivory versus, I don't know, badass Billy Gunn. No, he never did that. He always booked believable matches. Chyna said she does not like facing women. Why? Because she was always bigger and stronger than women. She felt like she could take on dudes because she was built like a dude, which that makes sense. Dude, every time I watched Raw, they was always booking Chyna with DX, right? There was this one main event. It was Chyna, Triple H, and X-Pac. They was facing Mankind, The Rock, and Stone Cold. Not one time did I say, this is fucking stupid. Nope. Chyna was holding her own. When The Rock was beating her ass, I never said, oh man, this is wrong. This is fucking stupid. No. Listen, during the late 90s, Chyna was in better shape than The Rock. She was in better shape than half that roster. That's why nobody had beef with her facing dudes based on how big she was. Jericho never had a beef facing Chyna. Jeff Jarrett, he never had a problem facing Chyna. Why? Based on how the way she looked. She looks like she could whoop a man's ass. So that makes sense. With fucking Impact Wrestling, they killed it. They just overdid it by booking Tessa against Sami Callihan, booking her against fucking Brian Cage, which was fucking stupid. Brian Cage should be ashamed of himself. Like, bro, you on fucking steroids. You are over 280 pounds. You are buff as fuck. Why would you sell for a small woman like Tessa? Dudes like that killed intergender wrestling. It was a joke after Brian Cage and Tessa. It was a fucking joke. I don't care. Sami Callihan is over 200 and some pounds. I don't care how short he is. I don't care. He's over 200 some pounds. He's a fucking wrestler. He is a trained wrestler. Why was he facing Tessa in a real competitive match? That made no fucking sense. I don't care. He's over 200 pounds. So I'm saying, that's what I mean by outside of the WWF, they killed intergender wrestling. And it brainwashed people. You guys never had a problem with it during the Attitude Era. Seeing fucking Bully Ray put Mae Young through a fucking table, you never had a problem with it. You never had beef with it. But now you fucking do. Because Impact Wrestling brainwashed you into claiming that shit's a fucking joke. You know what I'm saying? Vince McMahon, he always knew how to book it. He would never book Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin. He would never book Roman Reigns versus Charlotte Flair. Yes, you who was playing this video, I guarantee it, Beth can fuck you up. Have you seen her? She can fuck you up, dog. So talk all the shit you want. Don't get mad because Beth is in shape and she can fuck you up. Right? Triple H booked Rhea versus Tozawa. That makes sense because Rhea is bigger than Akira Tozawa. I think Rhea can beat the shit out of Akira Tozawa in real life. She's bigger, taller, stronger. How did that not make sense by your fucking logic? It's sad, man. It's always the fucking dudes who don't lift, who don't work out, who have an opinion about intergender wrestling. It's crazy. All these guys who made fucking videos shitting on intergender wrestling, shitting on Rhea, right? The huge irony is Rhea can whoop your ass. So why would you shit on intergender wrestling when the girl who was involved in it, she can fuck you up? Have you seen her? That bitch got broad ass shoulders that I'm actually jealous of. But the point is, when it came to Rhea, that makes sense. Rhea looks like she can take on Akira Tozawa in a real fight. So that was a fun match to me. That match didn't insult my intelligence. Impact, they were trying to insult your fucking intelligence. Hence why when it came to Eli Drake, he got fired because he didn't want to put over Tessa. And that's pretty understandable. So I'm saying Impact was going too far. Why the fuck would a guy who looks like Eli Drake? Listen, the reason Eli Drake was fired was because they wanted to book him against Tessa, and he did not want to put her over. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. Dog, Tessa is a small woman. That would have made no fucking sense if Eli Drake would have gave her offense and had a competitive match with a small little girl like that. Yes, that is insulting. That man is over 240. Big, buff, swole, tall, strong. That was dumb booking. That was indie booking. Hence why he had to leave. So I'm saying, you see, that's called bad intergender wrestling that you only see on the indies. That was a joke. So I'm saying, and that shit did not pay off because Tessa ended up leaving. So what did they accomplish? All they did was set back intergender wrestling for the next 20 years. Because now people view it as a fucking joke because of indie wrestling and fucking TNA. They fucking killed it. But when it comes to the fucking WWF, you can't say that they have ever insulted your intelligence. They always made it make sense. Like, let's talk about Jeff Jarrett. I think he will go down as the most underrated heel of all time. I remember during the late 90s, this crazy ass dude was putting half the female roster in figure 4 leg locks. Remember? He always did it, which was giving him tons of heat. He was putting fucking Mae Young, fucking Miss Jackie. He was putting the whole female roster in figure 4 leg locks every week. Jeff was getting tons of heat doing that, but it made sense for his character. It's all about, does it make sense for your character? It makes sense for Rhea Ripley's character to beat up men who are her size or smaller. It makes sense for her to possibly beat up Ray. It makes sense for her to beat up Akira Tozawa. See what I'm saying? They know how to book it. Book women who are just as big as dudes. Like, let's be honest, man. Have you ever saw anything from the WWF when it came to intergender wrestling where your ass said, you know what, that's fake. That ain't real. That's fucking stupid. Nope. They always made it make sense. Seeing Nia Jax take a fucking RKO. Seeing Nia Jax take a 619. That was great stuff. That's called great booking. Dog, she was the biggest person in the fucking ring. So how did that not make sense? Right? She was fucking dominating tons of guys in that Rumble based on how big she was. Not one person had an issue. You know why? Because Vince knew how to book intergender wrestling. That's what this thing is all about. The only company on this earth that knows how to book intergender wrestling is the WWF. Chyna became a star from wrestling dudes. Why are people forgetting about that? Do you know why Chyna got away with it? Do you know why Chyna became a star from wrestling dudes? Because she was bigger than you. So it makes sense. That's why Chyna got over. That's why Beth Phoenix got over. They were beating up dudes that were just as big as her, if not bigger. That's why they got over. So I don't want to hear these dumbass people shitting on intergender wrestling just because the fucking indies killed it. Don't lose sight of the fact that Vince and fucking Triple H, they know what the fuck they're doing. Of course, Triple H knows what the fuck he's doing. That dude fucked Chyna. So, dog, that dude was wrestling with Chyna and he fucked Chyna. So I think Triple H knows how to book intergender professional wrestling. Come on, hold on, man. Are we losing sight of the guy that booked Rhea versus Akira Tozawa? The same guy who fucked Chyna. The same guy who made her into a fucking star. I think he knows what he's doing when he's booking Rhea and a fucking dude. I think he knows what he's doing. Hence why it looked good last Monday. Akira Tozawa, his ass got dominated, and guess what? I had no beef with it. Because that shit looked real. I don't think he can beat up Rhea. I don't think he can beat up Rhea in a fight. He is a small guy. Rhea is bigger. So, yes, bitch, that makes sense. It's just, don't go too far with it. That's all. When it comes to the WWF, they never have gone far. Never. Every time there's contact between a man and a woman, they always made it make sense. Always. Ronda Rousey beating up a guy, okay, that makes sense. Why? She came from the UFC. She knows combat, so I think she knows how to beat up some dudes. So, you know what I'm saying? They make it make sense. They don't book girls like Carmella beating up dudes. Like, no. Who would win in a fight? Rhea or James Ellsworth? See what I'm saying? Who would win? That's what I mean by, when it comes to the WWF, they know how to book these kinds of matches. They always make it look real. They never insult your intelligence. Impact, I'm telling you, man, they insulted my intelligence. Why was Sami Callihan getting his ass whooped by Tessa? Why was Brian Cage giving up so much offense to a woman he can beat up? Like, that made no sense. Like, what if Tessa and Brian Cage were a couple? Let's say they had problems and she called the cops on Brian Cage, right? Look, if she called the cops, those cops are going to be on her side. Why? Based on how huge he is. See what I'm saying? That's why Impact Wrestling killed intergender wrestling. They made shit look fucking fake. There should be no way in hell Brian Cage should get beat by Tessa fucking Blanchard. Not by a girl that small, bro. That's stupid. That's dumb. But I don't get it. Triple H knows what he's doing. Hence why Rhea looked like a badass beating up Akira Tozawa. That's what I mean. He knows what he's doing. He fucked Chyna. The fuck? So he knows how to book it. Maybe you don't, but he does. It's like, dog, y'all never had a problem with it until Impact Wrestling. Nobody had an issue with Beth Phoenix in the Royal Rumble. Nobody did, because that shit looked real. She is buff, swole, cut. She could beat up half my fucking viewers. So nobody had issue with her beating up on dudes. Nobody did. That made sense. See, when it comes to intergender wrestling, it can work. You can make it work in small doses. When it comes to the WWF, they always make it work. You can add it in storylines. Like, let's say Beth Phoenix takes a RKO from Randy Orton. That's going to add on to a feud with Edge, which it did. It gave Orton more heat. And Beth looks like she can take a RKO. That's why they did it. If Edge was married to a girl who was like small and Orton did that, yeah, that would look bad, right? That would look hella wrong. But Beth is buff, swole. She can take a RKO. That's why nobody had beef with it. So you can add men and female contact via a storyline, depending on the characters. Depending how big she is, that can make sense. You can make that work. You can book a woman versus a guy depending on their size. If they're the same size, yeah, you can possibly book that and make the crowd eat it up. But it's all how you book it. Can you make it make sense? Triple H made it make sense. Rhea versus Akira Tozawa, he made that make sense. Dude, he got powered during that match, but that shit looked real. That shit looked real to me. Rhea is a strong ass girl, man. She's always in the fucking gym. She is strong as shit. So that pairing, that makes sense. See, they know how to book intergender wrestling. Just companies outside, they fucking took it too far, and they killed it. They killed the rep of intergender wrestling. So, to make a long story short, if you got beef with intergender wrestling, then you are a fucking dumbass. You are a dumbass. You are a fucking clout chaser. Because if the man and the woman are damn near the same size, if not she's bigger, then what the fuck is your issue? Dog, there's women that can't beat you up. Like, for example, how about Awesome Kong? You telling me if Awesome Kong faced Chad Gable, that match wouldn't look real? Dog, she's taller and bigger than Chad Gable. So, yes, those kinds of matches you can book and make the crowd not think otherwise. Dog, nobody had beef with Chris Jericho versus Chyna. Why? I think Chyna was actually taller than Chris Jericho. Chyna was just as big, just as girthy as Chris Jericho. So that match looked real. Jericho made that match work. Jeff Jarrett and Chyna, they made that match work. See, Jeff Jarrett didn't have no beef with Chyna. It was a money dispute he had with Vince McMahon, but he said with his own mouth, he never had a problem getting beat by Chyna. Why? because Chyna was a hard worker. She worked her ass off. But the whole point is, I don't have a problem with intergender wrestling as long as you can make it work, as long as you don't make it look fucking fake. I don't want to see Roman Reigns versus Becky Lynch. That's what I mean. It's like, dog, some of the greatest moments in the history of the WWF happened when a fucking man beat up a fucking woman. For example, Bully Ray and Mae Young. That was great shit. The fact that he put her through a fucking table, that was great shit. Let's talk about Baron Corbin and Becky Lynch. Dude, that was one of the greatest moments in WWF history when Baron Corbin gave her the fucking end of days. That was great shit. Nobody seen that coming when Baron Corbin gave her the end of days. So you are saying intergender wrestling doesn't work, bruh? That whole crowd popped when he gave her the end of days. Come on, man, don't be fucking hypocrites. You fucking know that was great shit. And she sold that like a fucking champ too. She sold the hell out of that fucking end of days. Dude, go and look back at when Randy Orton gave Nia Jax a RKO. Look it up on YouTube. That shit has over 10 million views. Because that was a special moment when he gave her a fucking RKO. Nobody's seen that coming. But nobody had beef with it. Because Nia is bigger than Randy Orton. So nobody had beef with it. So the point I'm trying to say is, you can make intergender wrestling work depending how you book it. Just don't make it look fake. Make it look real. Make the audience believe, okay, that can happen. I believe Rhea can possibly beat up Chad Gable. Based on the fact that they are the same height. So I'm saying, they are the same height. Rhea is fucking swole, buff. She goes to the fucking gym every fucking week. She can make that work. So I'm saying, don't make it look fake. Okay, I'm done.